This week was very important for JD Vance. It was his big diplomatic debut, and I must say, Trump threw him into the deep end. First was a global summit on artificial intelligence. Vance had to spell out US AI policy. He also had to refuse signing on to the joint statement. His next assignment is in Munich, where he will attend a security conference. JD Vance will have to lay out Trump's approach to Europe, not to mention clarify his moves on Ukraine. These are tough missions for any politicians, but especially so for a novice like JD Vance. Trump literally picked him in the middle of his first ever term as senator. So he's virtually a beginner on foreign policy. So how did his debut go? Our next report tells you.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
James David Vance. That's what the JD stands for, James David. Not everyone knows this, because Vance isn't exactly very famous. Not yet, anyway. The US Vice President is usually in the shadow of his Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. But this week, Vance has been given a chance to step out of that shadow. Trump sent his VP to Europe. First to attend the AI summit in Paris, and then on to Munich in Germany for the annual Munich Security Conference, which begins tomorrow. Vance has been given a difficult task. He has to represent the Trump administration in Europe, while the continent is wary of Trump's every move. Vance has to reassure America's European allies, but also make sure to push Trump's America First agenda. It's an unenviable task, a trial by fire. But let's see how the US VP has performed so far, starting with the Paris AI Summit.
The United States of America is the leader in AI, and our administration plans to keep it that way. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you, and we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with a spirit of openness and collaboration. Many of our most productive tech companies are forced to deal with the EU's Digital Services Act and the massive regulations it created about taking down content and policing so-called misinformation.
JD Vance effectively said it all with those 3 points. America will be first, it wants to work with Europe, but Europe has to follow America's rules. Vance's speech was combative. He rejected all the talk about safety and regulation, and eventually he didn't sign the final joint statement. But he left the door open for future collaborations, on America's terms. All in all, he seems to have done what was expected of him. Outside the summit, he met a host of world leaders. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was among them. PM Modi had a few gifts for Vance's children, gifts that could reaffirm their ties to India. Remember, the VP's wife, Usha Vance, is of Indian descent, so their children have ties to the subcontinent. Prime Minister Modi seems to have considered this while giving them gifts. Vance also attended some less friendly meetings with European leadership.
We're going to talk a lot about, I'm sure, some trade issues, some economic issues, and the Trump administration has been very clear that we care a lot about Europe. We see a lot of economic relationship to build upon with Europe, and we also want to make sure that we're actually engaged in a security partnership that's good for both Europe and the United States. So,
again, he basically said that the US is open to collaboration, but it will be America first. It's a tough line to walk. And it'll be even tougher tomorrow at the Munich Security Conference. Vance will have to explain Donald Trump's latest move, his call with Vladimir Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. Trump seems to have left Europe out in the cold. He didn't consult with them. So Vance will have to explain that as well, which means his trial by fire isn't over yet.
We're calling the show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you. Touted as the minimum defense from that video. India's neighbors were the first to send the special edition of Vantage live from the White House throughout the biggest Hindu mandir in. We're on our way to Tel Aviv. Measure, but it's also the perfect way to drive
I don't think that
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Sheryl Tagwe. Welcome to
60% of the world's
office. Prime Minister Modi did the iron.
We were actually
How are you doing? How do you like? It's been 1 year since that meeting. Iron bars separate you from the outside. Out the vote effort. Trump had, it says, and at $4.3 trillion. 300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change.